Hi everyone, my name is Eric Choi. I'm the VP of Customer Engagement here at AppScale, and I'm here today with our CTO, Dr. Dmitrii Calzago. Hi Dmitrii.
Hi Eric.
So first of all, Dmitrii, what do we mean when we say private infrastructure?
Yeah, there are a bunch of definitions. The one I like is when the computational resources have kind of a long-term affinity with the customer. So the customer maybe bought the hardware and now owns it for a number of years, or maybe the customer is leasing them from somebody else, but kind of on a long-term basis, right? A number of months or years, and the resources are generally dedicated to that customer. And of course, included in that is example where the resources are completely isolated from the internet, right? The setups that are sometimes called air-gapped that we see in the intelligence community or in the military, as well as, I guess, just mobile or kind of remote installations somewhere in places where network connectivity is not frequent and not constant.
And to that point, the very nature of a private infrastructure presents some challenges to developers. In our experience or your experience, what are some of those challenges?
Yeah, I think fundamentally the challenge is that applications these days are becoming more and more complex. They have to accommodate larger loads, and all of those building blocks underneath them have to be operated by whoever owns the infrastructure, so by the customer themselves. This is why public clouds are becoming really popular. The burden of operating services like databases, message queues, all of the load balancers, all of those things are done by the public cloud providers, by Google, by Amazon, and in a private setting, you got to do it yourself. So that's hard. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's very complex. But we hear a lot of talk about containers and container management systems. Do those help?
Containers help. They certainly solve quite a few problems. They ensure that the environment that the developer sees on their laptop is the same as what QA sees and the same as what is deployed in production. So that overcomes a number of problems. And then container management systems like Kubernetes, they help you manage the life cycle of these complex distributed applications. They can even restart them if they fail, and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, Kubernetes gives you a platform to run a whole bunch of software that you never wrote, right? You're still in charge of maintaining the life cycle and patching, ensuring security of all these applications that are not yours, that are somebody else's. It's just their applications that your developers depend upon.
And it seems like there's some obvious benefits of those containers to the IT operations and infrastructure audience. On the developer side of the house, would you say that AppScale is sort of analogous to that in helping them abstract away?
Right, I agree. Containers help with operations, but for a developer, they give the flexibility of choosing, any kind of software they want. But they end up being in charge of essentially maintaining that software and making sure that it's secure and that it runs well in production.
When AppScale is deployed on a private infrastructure, who handles the operations?
Right. In many cases, it's the AppScale company. We're happy to run AppScale for you, essentially giving you a hosted version. And the reason we're comfortable doing that is because AppScale is designed to be easy to operate. Right. We made trade-off towards a more standard software stack that's consistent across the different nodes, and that doesn't quite give you the choices of backends that maybe developers expect, but on the other hand is pretty robust and easy to operate. So we're happy to do it, or in cases where the customer wants to run it themselves, or in case where the cloud is isolated from the internet, then they'd have to do it. But it's definitely easier than pretty much any other platform solution out there.
And if I'm a developer and I want to try AppScale, how would you suggest I go about trying it?
The easiest way is to start with an image on which all of the software is installed, and it's basically a self-contained AppScale installation on one node. And you can run it on your laptop, you can run it on a single instance in a public cloud. And in fact, we have images in marketplaces of all the major public cloud providers that you can spin up with just a couple clicks of your mouse. So I would go that route.
Terrific. All right. Thank you, Dima.
Absolutely.